Okay, I would like to share my slide. Okay, actually this topic is more related to the task as a coordinator, as a head of department, and as a deputy dean. So when I get this topic, my prediction, not many lecturer will join this section, but they have to remember, actually the post is a rotation post. One day they also maybe become coordinator or the head of department. Okay, nobody willing to hold that position for a long period. Okay, that enough just one time or maybe 2 term. That is good enough. Okay, but at least we have some experience how to handle the designing and reviewing curriculum. Okay, when we talk about the OBE approach, we always start begin with end in mind. So at the end of this session, I expect all the participants will be able to understand the importance of reviewing curriculum. Okay, when we know when we realize the main reason why we are doing something, normally the impact or the result is much better rather than we are doing something because of we are being forced by others. Kita buat secara terpaksa dengan kita buat kerana we are really want to achieve something, tentu result dia takkan sama lah. Okay. So the second thing is identify the main references to review the curriculum. Okay. We have to refer to the right reference and also guideline. Kalau kita refer different reference, so and then the accreditation done by different body, so definitely kita punya curriculum will not in line with the guideline. And then last one is describe the process of improving curriculum. Okay. Inshallah, I will also touch a little bit about the ISO procedure that we have now, PK01, which is related to the curriculum review and offering a new program. Okay, let me look the main reason why we are reviewing curriculum. If we say that we have to review curriculum because that is the compulsory, because that is a obligation, we have no choice. Ini maksudnya ayat ni lebih pada kita terpaksa buat. Kita terpaksa buat. Tapi as long as kita buat, okey lah. Tapi dia punya impact, as I said, kalau kita voluntary, we are doing something, biasanya dia akan lebih, resultnya akan lebih baik lah. Okay. Sepatutnya kita kena rasa curriculum review is we need to reviewing our curriculum because of we have to achieve a certain goal. Dia punya apa ni, mungkin dua-dua buat tapi dengan niat yang berbeza kan. Satu niat kerana terpaksa buat, satu niat kerana memang dia tahu dia kena buat untuk tujuan kebaikan sesuatu organisasi ataupun certain goal kan. Macam as a Muslim kan, kita kata kita kena solat, macam terpaksa, tapi kalau kita perlu solat kan, kita perlu solat sebabkan kita nak dapat ketenangan, kita nak dapat dia lebih baik lah, dia punya makam tu kan, dia punya darjat. So maksudnya situ yang kita kata sepatutnya we are reviewing curriculum because of we need to do that, because bukannya kita terpaksa buat kerana dia adalah some instruction lah. Okay. So let me look to the U-time goals. Tadi kalau kita lihat kalau kita kata we need to reviewing our curriculum because of to achieve a certain goal. So let me look to the U-time 7 goals. Okay, the first one is a student university of choice. Okay, it means when the student apply in UPU application, U-time should be maybe the apa ni, ranking number the first the first three or the first five, something like that. UQ ni, if I'm not mistaken, ada 10 ke 8 option yang dia kena pilih. Okay. So it depend on our definition. Kalau kita kata the first one, mungkin agak berat lah, kan? Student pilih UTEM as a first choice. So yang that is the best lah. So in the early stage of our establishment of UTEM, maybe around 2003 atau 2004, when I did random survey, when I asked the student, how many of you actually choose UTEM? At that time, the condition is very bad. Most of them, maybe I can say 80% of the student, they never choose UTEM in their UQ application. But somehow they get offer from UTEM. Why? Because at that time, we are not well known. UTEM ni orang tak tahu. So walaupun dia tak apply UTEM, they get offer from UTEM. That is the early stage lah. But now I think UTEM is much better. Is quite well known. Lebih dikenal ni. We are already 20 years. Itu pun some of the people outside there still confused. Are we private or government, IPTA or government university? That question still always kita dengar lah, kan? Sebab tu sekarang ni UTEM, we have our own number plate. I think that is a good approach. Indirectly, we are actually promoting our UTEM kalau kita guna plate number UTEM, kan? Selain daripada kita generate income, our own income. Tapi kalau ada nombor plate sendiri tu mesti IPTA lah, takkan private university ada number plate, kan? So recommended lah, siapa yang nak beli kereta baru tu kita pakai nombor plate untuk kita promoting our university. Okay. So UTEM goal number 2 sorry. Sekejap, asal saya punya tak baca. Sorry. Okay, number 2 is employers graduate of choice. Okay. Employees graduate of choice, meaning that the employers, the industry outside there, they are looking for our student. So far, our graduate employability is not so bad, but it is depend on the program and the or the faculty. Okay, so how do we ensure that the employers out there is choose our student? So one of the thing is, the most important here is we have to ensure our curriculum is relevant to the industry, to the current need, to their requirement. That's why meeting with industry advisory panel is one of the compulsory process we have to carry out. Because sometimes istilahnya kita short sendiri, kita offer our program, but we not refer to our stakeholder, our employer. So that is the main reason why we need to reviewing our curriculum to ensure our curriculum is in line with the current technology and also current practice in the industry. Okay. Actually, goal number 1 and 2 is related each other. If we are if the employers are looking for our student, and meaning that easier for our student to be employed by industry, so automatically goal number 1 will also improve. Student will choose a UTEM sebab apa ni objektif apply belajar ni nak kerja, kan? Okay, so dia akan improve KPI yang nombor 1. And then the rest, I'm not going to discuss about the rest of the UTEM goal. So we only focus on the related goals for today topic. But the rest is about something like the visibility of the UTEM, our collaboration, and also our MOU and others. So which is also indirectly also will improve our goal number 1 and number 2. Okay, let me look to the our OB approach, okay, because this is related to our topic. Okay, the first one is a learning outcome, of course, learning outcome. This one is immediately after we complete our course, okay, during end of the semester, okay, the learning outcome, and we also map all the assessment to the program outcome. So accumulation of the program outcome achievement can be analyzed, okay, to get the achievement of program outcome for each individual student and also at program level. And even after our student graduate 3 or 5 years after graduation, we have to trace back our student, and we have to analyze their performance. Are they still at the same post, or they are promoted to higher level to check whether our PEO is achieved or not, because PEO is about what the student achieve after 3 to 5 years after graduation. And how we set all this PO and PO, okay, basically it's come from the first one, of course, the professional body. For engineering, we have EEC and also ETEC. And for some non-engineering, they use MQA as their guideline. Okay, and like our case, our PO, we have 12 PO. That's one is come. That's one are come from our professional body, EAC. Okay, and industry also play an important role here. Okay, we always ask them about our KPI. Is that realistic? KPI of a PEO. So what is their expectation after 5 years working in industry? Okay, so that input actually come from the industry. And IHL requirement. Sometimes the university itself have own requirement, especially on the compulsory subject and so on. And academic expert, this is about our external examiner. Okay, so the best option here is when we appoint the external academic external examiner, they it's better if they are also a panel of the accreditation body. Okay? Kalau MK lah, kalau EC, so so that their suggestion will in line with the professional body lah. Kalau tidak, they are expert in that field, but in term of the accreditation mungkin dia tak berapa familiar. Okay, so dia akan ada masalah nantilah. Okay, and then others has IHL. So sometimes we think that we practice the good process, tapi sebenarnya if we compare with others, some of them much better than us. So kita buat benchmarking with others university lah. Okay, and then the student, the input from the student, alumni, and etc. And all this outcome start from learning outcome, program outcome, and also objective, program education objective. The criteria here is to be smart. Smart means the outcome must be specific, measurable, okay, and then attainable or achievable, and then relevant, and this is a time bound. So in EAC, it is compulsory for us to measure the achievement for each LO, PO, and PEO. Okay, not like what we have learned from last time for the apa ni WP, WK, and work knowledge, EA, WP, complex problem solving. That one is just to ensure the element is there, the characteristic is there, but it's not measured. But like this case, we have to measure all the achievement of PO and PO. Okay, so the main reference, okay, okay, for this section, if you have any question or you want to discuss something, just interrupt. Okay, let we discuss. Okay, okay, main reference. So okay, the first reference we should refer is MQA program standard. So in MQA, we can see 25 programs, including the technology and engineering technology. Okay, like our engineering technology program, FTK lah. Previously we refer to MQA, but now the university decided to use ETech. Okay, and the same thing for our diploma. Previously we refer to MQA, but now after benchmark with others university and polytechnic, most of them are go through ETech process. So we also at the end we decide to use ETech. Okay. Yep. So, okay. And then for engineering, we use EAC standard 2020 and ETech standard 2020 for engineering technology. Okay. And then ETech divided into two. The first one engineering technology for FTK, and for diploma, we call that as a technician. And all the document can be download from this link. Okay. And finally, we have to refer to ISO PK 01. Okay. Basically for today's sharing section, I just copy and paste some statement from the MQA or EAC manual. Okay, and then we elaborate and we discuss about the statement. Okay, that is the this is the main reference. On top of that, for the curriculum review, we have to refer to the external examiner report, to the benchmarking, to the IAP report. But this is the main reference. Okay. Okay, just to rephrase back, what is MQA? MQA actually previously is a separate entity between Lembaga Akreditasi Negara and Quality Assurance Division. But they in 2007 they merged as a one entity. We call that the Malaysia Qualification Agency. Okay. And the main role of MQA is to implement the Malaysian Qualification Framework (MQF) as a basis for quality assurance of higher education and as the reference point for the criteria and standard for national qualification. The MQA is responsible for monitoring and overseeing the quality assurance practice and accreditation of national higher education. So that is the main task of MQA. We also have in the website MQR. So student or parents can refer to MQR to see whether the program is accredited by MQA or not. Okay, for the government policy, government servant, the program must be recognized by MQA. Barulah dia boleh apply for the government sector. But for the private, it is up to them. They sometimes they don't bother about this accreditation. Okay. Okay, 25 programs standard by MQA. Okay. There are a lot of programs. Okay. So for the engineering and engineering technology, number 12 here. Okay. Program standard engineering and engineering technology. For FTMK, for FPTT, we have to refer to which category the program, but I'm not familiar with the rest. Okay, we only focus on the engineering and engineering technology. Okay, even for the engineering course, I mean for FKE, FKM, FKP, okay, bachelor degree in engineering, the program aims to provide graduate with broad-based education background and skill, which equip them with ability in design and providing solution to complex and multi-phase engineering problem. Okay, this is statement from MQA, but what the MQA write here, accreditation of 4 years bachelor degree in engineering is in consultation with the engineering accreditation EAC. Further guideline can be obtained from the EAC manual. Okay. So meaning that for the engineering program, there is no guideline in MQA. So they give authority to the BM for EAC to accredit our engineering program. Okay. Previously, bachelor degree in engineering technology, they are still a guideline there. Okay. This manual actually is 2011. Dia tak revise lagi. Kalau dia revise, most probably statement yang engineering technology ni mungkin similar like bachelor degree. Dia akan refer pada ETEC. Okay. Tapi sekarang ni dia seolah-olah we have two choice. Kita nak direct MQA ataupun ETEC seolah-olah begitu. Tapi sebenarnya kita memang dah decide engineering teknologi pun kita akan go through ETEC. Okay. And then the rest is master degree, doctorate degree and so on. Okay. Okay, let me look the statement MQA. Quality enhancement call for program to be regularly monitored, reviewed and evaluated. This includes the monitoring, reviewing and evaluating of institutional structure and process, administrative structure, leadership and government. The idea of this audit is not only focused on the curriculum component, but also to the operation of the program. How do we handle the program? They must be a owner of the program, normally a coordinator or head of department. Kalau di FTK, I think they use the coordinator, more on coordinator. Tapi kalau quality lain, mungkin dia guna head of department. And of course, the curriculum component must be reviewed. Okay, and learning syllabus, teaching method and learning outcome, as well as student progress, employability and performance. Even after they graduate, we have to monitor. So our task is not complete when they graduate, but even after 3 to 5 years, we have to monitor them. Okay. Feedback from multiple sources, such as the student, alumni, academic staff, employers, professional body and parent, to assist in enhancing the quality of the program. Okay, feedback can also be obtained from an analysis of student performance and from longitudinal studies. That means we have to analyze the student result, and then from there we do some improvement. Okay. Okay. Okay, this statement is quite long. Just focus into this. Okay. The second one, the higher educational provider expected to provide evidence of their ability to keep pace with changes in the field and with the requirement of stakeholders. This may be demonstrated but not limited to. So this is some of the item highlighted in MQA, which is actually similar with the EAC, because some of the members in AC is representative from MQA, so they must be in line. Dia tak adalah MQA buat lain, AC buat lain. Dia akan sama. Okay, the first one, an annual module review. Module review, but in our case maybe kita ada twice per year. Normally every semester we discuss about the CQI subject under its field. Kalau di FKM kita ada own field, masing-masing ada bidang, so they will discuss among the members and then revise and then give suggestion about the improvement. Okay. And then number 2, a program curriculum review conducted at least once every 4 years. Okay, program curriculum review conducted at least once every 2 or 4 years. Normally after complete the cycle, kalau diploma biasanya after 3 years kita akan review. Kalau degree biasanya 4 tahun lah. So along the way kita just compile all the input. But if there are urgent changes, tak perlulah kita nak tunggu sampai 4 years. Okay. And then number 3, the appointment of an external examiner, industry advisor for quality assessment process. Okay. This is the compulsory. In fact, in AEC, this one is fall under, we call that as an entry requirement, qualifying requirement. Without the external examiner report, our program are not qualify to be assessed. Maksudnya dia boleh tolak macam tu je. Okay. And of course we have to provide allocate some money for this. But external seminar ni the cost is quite expensive. Per visit around 5,000 to 6,000. So dalam planning we have to include. Okay. And then number 4, a periodic calibration of equipment or when necessary. This one also include under CQI. Okay. Number 5, engagement with the engineering and engineering technology industry. We should have some collaboration or industry visit. Okay. Number 6, a continuous review of industrial attachment practice and record. Okay, industrial attachment ataupun latihan industri. This is the item yang selalu memang auditor will check lah. Okay, to ensure our industrial placement is appropriate with the program. Okay, so are they really exposed to the industry or just become a general worker? Ni pun susah juga kan, kita kadang nak justify. Okay, and then dialogue session with stakeholder. Okay, we have to prove the minute of meeting and so on. Okay, an active participant by the academic staff at relevant conference, seminar, workshop, and short courses. So this is also one of the criteria highlighted here. So by exposing our staff to the conference and seminar, actually we are exposed to the others industry, to the current practice, and we can share with our student. That is the spirit of this. And then number 9, presentation by invited speaker, either local or international. Okay, like our degree program now, we have what we call as the engineering seminar, which is normally like in the faculty, we choose about 5 to 6 people from industry to give a talk. Okay. And then number 10, organization of conference, seminar, and workshop. Okay, this is under MQA. Okay, which is actually almost similar with EAC. Okay, let me look some of the example here. Okay. Okay, just to share what happened to our diploma program previously. Maybe some of us not realize about this. Okay, this is the MQA guideline, a diploma in engineering. This one involved 4 engineering program. Initially, our industrial training duration is only 10 weeks. Okay, why we design for 10 weeks? Because at that time we refer to MQA. Kita refer MQA. MQA, attachment to a relevant workshop. Here, credit dia adalah 4 to 12. For the industrial training, 2 weeks is equal to 1 credit. 2 weeks equal to 10. 2 weeks equal to 1 credit. Okay. Previously, our diploma student have to go through industrial attachment for 10 weeks. Maksudnya ada 5 kredit. 5 kredit. Okay. 5 kredit. Okay. Which is in this range. Okay. But once we decide to get accreditation from ETAC, okay, the minimum industrial training duration is 16 weeks. Okay, 16 minggu ataupun 8 kredit. So that's why we have to revamp our curriculum structure for the diploma, and we have to utilize the short semester just to ensure that the student will graduate at the same duration. Okay, so that's what happened to our diploma. Okay, diploma student last time. Okay, if we refer to MQA, I think for diploma inclusive or final year project or final project is not mentioned here. Okay, this is the requirement from ETAC. As we can see here, final year project 4 to 6 SLT credit units. Okay, but our previous credit is only 3. Okay, in FKM we only have 3, so now we revised to 4. And here industrial training minimum of 16 weeks. Compare with our previous practice is only 10 weeks. Okay, 16 weeks mean one full semester. Okay, our previous practice industrial attachment conduct during short semester because 10 weeks is enough for short semester. But for 16 weeks, we have to use the full one semester. So what happened? We have to distribute all the subject instead of in normal semester go to short semester. So students agak stress lah. Short semester should be only for the UM and UG subject, but now it's become their curriculum structure. Why? Because we are referring different standard. Okay, initially we refer to the MQA and then we go to move to ETEC. Okay, actually there are special course at that time lead by Prof. Rabia, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, to do benchmarking. Even for polytechnic, they also use ETEC standard. Okay, actually our diploma content is much better, more lebih dari segi requirement, dari segi entry requirement pun kita lebih tinggi banding dengan polytechnic. In polytechnic level, even non-science stream student, they can apply for the engineering diploma. Okay, but in our case, only science stream student and credit must credit in physics, math, admat. Okay, baru boleh apply kita punya program engineering. Itu pun diploma tadi daripada poli tadi pun dia lalu ETEC. So kita patut kena standard lebih tinggi ataupun sama lah kurang-kurangnya. So that's why we decide to use to get accreditation from ETEC. So apa yang berlaku? We have to change our duration of industrial training to 16 weeks. Okay, but the spirit actually here for our diploma actually is our feeder for our degree program. Okay, but the ETEC standard, it seems like to straightly go to industry. Maksudnya 16 minggu is agak panjang. So after industrial training, because we put industrial training at the end of the curriculum structure, so dia boleh terus absorb by the industry, by the employers. Okay, tu ideas dia. Seolah-olah ETEC standard ni memang nak train student to be technician and then terus bekerja. Tapi kita punya spirit adalah, kita intention adalah pelajar ni as a feeder to our degree program. Sebenarnya tak perlukan 16 minggu. 10 weeks pun enough. Tapi we have no choice when we choose a ETEC standard, so kita kena follow lah. Okay. So consequence from this decision. So this is what happened to our diploma. Sebab kita tukar je reference, kita akan terus bertukar kita punya curriculum structure. Offer high credit in normal semester. Dia most maximum. Sebabkan kita nak distribute all the subject during the yang last semester for the apa ni industrial training tadi tu. Kita nak distribute ke tempat-tempat yang lain, so dia akan jadi high credit in normal semester, and then offer course during special semester, maximum 7 credit. Dia dah tak jadi nama special semester for me lah, sebab special semester is just for special case, for those repeat or repair their subject. Tapi yang ni dia dah jadi masuk dalam curriculum structure. Just like our part-time program, in order to complete within 5.5 years, special semester is included in the curriculum structure. Dia bukan, battery saya weak. Okay, terlupa nak charge battery. Okay. Okay. Okay, and then reduce the graduating credit. Initially kita ada 94. Actually in E-Tech and MQA dia sama 90. Since we have extra semester last time, so kita lajak lah sikit 94. But now since kita punya masa tu pun dah cukup-cukup, so kita ambil 91. Saya ingat ada fakulti pun just about itulah 90, 91. Okay. And then offer industrial training in semester 1, final semester, 10 week to 16 weeks, increase credit of project diploma 3 to 4. Okay, inilah kurikulum yang terpaksa kita revamp itu, rombak balik disebabkan kita decide to use a E-Tech standard instead of MQA. Okay. Any question tak so far atau nak share something atau ada? Okay, initially there are some issue untuk yang diploma ni, sebab initially dalam manual dia kata normally for diploma program is 3 years. Like our case, kita sebenarnya just 2.5 years. But this one is not include yang the first semester tu, yang semester 0. Dia kena belajar subjek-subjek wajib. Jadi dia tak cukup 3 tahun. But alhamdulillah E-Tech dia dah keluarkan satu statement. Dia has approved the 2.5 years duration for diploma in engineering program. So maksudnya tak ada masalah lah program kita 2.5 years. Not necessary must go up to 3 years lah. Okay. Provided that semua SLT ni cukup lah. Macam kita tadi, how to cover that issue, kita offer during the short semester. Tapi kesian jugalah student ni, dia cuma short semester pun dia tak rehat. Sepatutnya dia boleh ada semester break. Tapi yang second year, kalau tak salah saya, dia ada lagi masa lah. Ada satu je short semester yang dia free. Yang sebelum tu dia kena ambil subjek. Cuma the problem dia when the student fail the subject, so it is very hard for them to repeat. Sebab dia dah ambil maximum credit per semester, and then short semester pun dah ada subject. So mana nak cek slot? That's the problem lah. Okay. But in general lah, in general student yang apply diploma program kita ni is kebanyakannya adalah student yang excellent lah dari segi result dia. Kebanyakan memang agak bagus-bagus. Cuma I don't know what really happened during the last intake. The last intake we have problem untuk pelajar yang ni saya cakap pasal degree program lah. Degree program. Pelajar daripada matrikulasi. Intake pelajar daripada matrikulasi drop drastically. Seolah-olah it seem like they not interested to engineering program anymore. Okay. Intake kita yang lepas banyak daripada diploma poli. Sepatutnya kuota tu adalah kuota untuk pelajar matrikulasi, tapi mereka tak ambil. Sebelum ni pelajar matrikulasi penuh lah kuota tu, tapi untuk yang last exercise ni memang sikit sangat pelajar matrikulasi yang mohon, sehingga kita terpaksa ambil pelajar diploma to cover the quota lah. Jadi apa yang berlaku, mereka semua nakkan credit exemption kan. Bila nak credit exemption sebab dia dah ada diploma, tapi kita punya quota untuk year 2 tu limited, hanya certain numbers kan. So that is some issue lah dekat situ. So tak tahu pelajar dah tak berminat dengan engineering. That is some issue we have to think why. Okay, mungkin belajar susah-susah, tapi baru-baru ni ada viral kan, apa ni, gaji 20 tahun lepas sampai sekarang gaji 2,000. Saya punya experience dulu saya kerja lebih kurang, mula kerja gaji 2,000. Saya tengok sekarang gaji lebih kurang, industri lebih kurang macam tu. Just imagine lah. Masa 20 tahun lepas gaji 2,000, rumah teres 70,000. Sekarang gaji 2,000, rumah teres 200,000, 230,000. So it's totally tak boleh nak imagine macam mana nak survive. Ada masa tu ni Talib ada share tu. Dia kata apa, jurutera miskin lah. Belajar susah-susah gaji. Macam tu lah. So itu something yang we have to look lah. Mungkin because actually engineering high demand tapi dia high supply. High demand, high supply, so dia maintain je lah sampai bila-bila pun. Okay, baik dia buat bisnes ataupun kerja lain lah. Okay. Ni just selingan-selingan, semua orang pun tak nak stres kan. Okay. So ini this one about the diploma program. Okay. Sekejap, saya punya slide ni. Okay. Okay, Board of Engineer kita ada, and then second reference yang saya sebut tadi adalah EAC. EAC dan juga ETEC. ETEC ni Engineering Technology Program. This one for diploma program, which is under Dublin Accord lah. Okay. Okay, and then Engineering Technician. Engineering Technician ni yang diploma. Ini Engineering Technology ni adalah FTK lah, FTK punya. Semuanya yang the latest one is to 2020. Okay, what is the benefit of kita tengok, ni saya ambil satu contoh lah. Actually EAC, ETEC sama lah. EAC under Washington Accord. Kalau yang tadi Dublin dan juga Sydney Accord. Okay. Washington Accord is an agreement between various countries to endorse the equivalence of engineering program, whereby Malaysia is one of its provisional signatories. Okay, so dia ada setiap negara tu ada dia punya entity yang sign this agreement. So statement di sini, all graduate of engineering program that have been accredited in a members country are considered already fulfilling the academic requirement to enter engineering practice in all countries signing the agreement. Meaning that when our program is accredited by EAC, so the standard is similar with others standard from other country under Washington Accord. Maksudnya kalau negara tu apa ni, program kita dikirap oleh negara itu juga. Okay, that's mean by this. Okay, the Washington Accord has adopted the outcome-based education. Okay, let me look for the EAC. Kalau kita tengok sini, some of the Washington Accord signatories. Okay, these are some country: Australia, Canada, Chinese, Hong Kong, India, Ireland, Japan, and so on. So we are Malaysia represented by Board Engineer of Malaysia. Maksudnya, our program is accredited by EAC, so we are actually globally recognized by others country. Sebab dia punya standard dia akan refer standard yang sama. Okay, and then provisional status, meaning that toward the process lah. Ada certain country. Dulu ada beberapa country yang under provisional status tapi dia dah masuk ke dalam signatories ni lah. Okay. So this is some of the benefit. Even though maybe people with us, not many students, many of our students go to overseas, but this is the benefit that we have lah. Okay. So all the curriculum setting and curriculum guideline actually in engineering program is guided by EAC. Okay. So let me look who is EAC. Why they look so very powerful to determine our curriculum structure kan? So siapa dia sebenarnya ni? Okay. The Engineering Accreditation Council actually is representing by BEM, IEM, MQA and JPA. The policy on accreditation of engineering program is laid down by EAC and is subject to change as deemed necessary by EAC. Okay, implementation of the policy is the responsible of the EAC. Okay, let me look the members of EAC. Kalau ETEC pun sama, dia lebih kurang. Saya just take one example supaya kita lebih maksudnya lebih respect lah. Kenapa we have to follow EAC? Sebab bila kita tahu who ada, who they are, kita akan tahu, kita akan lebih rasa kenapa dia buat macam ni sebab kalau kita tengok kat sini, selain pada BEM, IEM, dia ada wakil daripada JPA, wakil daripada MQA, okay, dan 3 members from the major employers of engineer in Malaysia. Maksudnya ada employers punya representative, major employers yang terbesar lah, ada engineer yang di company tersebut. And then register of BEM and secretary of BEM. Okay. So this is the member of EAC. So memang those yang qualify to determine the curriculum structure of the engineering program. Okay. Okay. The members actually is a combination between the academician and industry. Okay. In fact, EACs will comprise person from academic institution with a minimum of 50% from industry. Minimum 50% from industry. Okay, so maksudnya dia nak pastikan yang kita punya curriculum ni relate dengan relevant to the industry lah. And then all members should be professional engineer unless not available with the constitution organization. Okay. To designing the curriculum, we have to refer to the branch, engineering, science and principle for main branch. This is the branch under mechanical. Okay. Basically, they are in engineering. They are only there are the four main branch: civil, mechanical, electrical, and chemical. Okay. Ini yang berlaku last time I think in FKE because they have offer mechatronic program. Okay, in others university mostly lah mechatronics under mechanical. So the mechanical element must be there. Sebab tu dia walaupun dia mechanical, mechatronic, they still have to study to cover some mechanical part. Contohnya dia ada subjek fluid mechanic, dia ada subjek static and dynamic, thermodynamic and heat transfer. Previously, saya dulu dia tak ada offer subjek heat transfer. So when panel come, they said mechanical part component also must be there. So dia offer subjek tu memang nama dia thermodynamic and heat transfer. Senang terus ambil nama subjek. But in mechanical faculty, thermodynamic and transfer ni kita pecah pada banyak subjek. Ada thermo 1, ada thermo 2 and transfer. Tapi dekat FKE, mechatronic semua lamsam dalam satu subjek. Just to cover this element. Tapi it's okay as long as it's cover lah. Okay. So macam mechatronic is a combination mechanical and electrical. Okay. So we have to refer to this, and we have to make sure they must be at least one subject to cover this category. Okay. For example here, as I said before, thermodynamic and transfer in faculty of mechanical. We have thermodynamic 1, thermodynamic 2, power plant, refrigeration, international combustion engine, heat and mass transfer. Okay, we have to ensure all the areas here must be covered by several subjects. Okay, otherwise the curriculum is not acceptable by the board, by EC. Okay. Okay. For engineering program, we should have 135 SLT credit. Okay, kita kena ada 135 kredit. 135 kredit, and this kredit ni bukan kredit biasa, not like the previous definition of credit, tapi dia adalah SLT, student learning time, which include the student self-learning, bukan hanya face to face. Okay, and we still maintain our duration of industrial training, which is 8 weeks, but in our case we have 10 weeks. This one is a minimum, so we have 10 weeks, and this is highlighted also in the standard external examiner or advisory report, 1 in every 2 academic years. Okay, all this actually is what we call as a qualifying requirement. So if one of these item is not fulfilled, and then the EC have the right to not visit visit the program, because this one is a compulsory qualifying requirement. So external examiner, let's say we only have for one cycle, 4 years, we only have one report of external examiner. So that is not enough, and then we have to call for another external examiner. Tak cukup, dia takkan datang. So this one is a compulsory. So this is the first checkpoint by the panel. Okay. So kalau ETEC pun lebih kurang, cuma kat sini 140 SLT. But there is additional condition here. At least 100 SLT credit unit should be engineering or engineering technology courses, of which a minimum 50 SLT credit unit should be allocated for practice-oriented component. Untuk engineering technology atau engineering technician, dia ada extra requirement which is 50 SLT credit must be practice oriented component. Okay. The same thing for the engineering technician, ini yang diploma. Half, we can say that 50% of the SLT should be allocated for practice oriented. Okay. Talking about the SLT, okay, even in EAC, EAC not describe about the SLT, but the statement just said the SLT credit is based on the student learning time defined in the Malaysian qualification framework. Okay, the discussion of the SLT is not discussed by EAC, but we have to refer to the Malaysian qualification framework, which is referred to 1 credit equal to 40 hours of learning. Okay. Okay, this one also necessary for us to understand because our curriculum design actually the SLT will determine our curriculum as well. Okay, so lecture here for each duration for 1 hour lecture, we have to allocate student learning time 1 to 2. Okay, ini last time when I attend one talk from Prof Shahril, senior EAC panel. In our SLT template, kita boleh pilih 0.5 hingga 1. Which is for them is wrong. Okay, sepatutnya minimum must be 1. Okay, kalau saya share kat sini. Okay, this is SLT. Ini saya copy daripada kita punya OBE system. This one just to simulate exactly what we have in our OBE system dalam teaching plan. Okay, dekat sini by default dekat sini dia 0.5. Dekat sini 0.5 to 1 hours. Okay, but by default in our OBE system dia letak sini 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. Okay, but if we refer to the guideline here by MQA, dia kata lecture propose student learning time minimum 1 to 2. Jadi bila letak 0.5 dia kata tak boleh. I also go through some slide from the Prof Siti Hawa, the EAC chairman sekarang. Dia kata minimum adalah 1 hingga 2. Dia tak ada guna yang 0.5. So that's why in the faculty highlighted to all lecturer. So we have to change here to 1, 1, 1. Okay, tetap 1. In fact, according to Prof Shahril, kalau subjek yang heavy subjek or killer subjek yang susah, biasanya subjek yang heavy kita boleh letak dia sehingga 2. Maksudnya for 1 hour lecture, in order for the student to understand, they have another 2 hours to study. Boleh. Malah dia ada certain subjek yang memang dia define dia punya preparation of the student tu, instead of 1 dia letak 2. Jadi nanti kredit dia subjek tu boleh jadi 4 instead of 3. Sebab apa? Sebab dia berat. Into that extent dia punya preparation dia consider dalam SLT tu. Okay. So tapi dalam kes kita ni kita kalau kita dalam sistem ni memang maksimum 1 lah, 2 tak boleh. Memang orang akan tanya how do we ensure our student do revision after class, kan? Itu kita pun tak boleh nak jawab, kan? That is where the we call that as active learning play their rules, kan? Kalau kita buat active learning, dia akan do some preparation. Kalau kita just normal lecture, mungkin dia tak ada pun preparation tu. Tapi that one we have to include in our SLT. Okay. Jadi kalau kita tengok kat situ, okay, tutorial pun 1-to-1, tutorial laboratory including report. Okay, yang saya nak sentuh ni. Okay, examination. Dalam kita punya examination for 1 hour, preparation dia adalah 4 jam. So it is in the range lah, dalam range ni. Maksudnya kalau 3 jam, in our case final exam 3 hours, preparation is 12 hours. So betul di dalam range ni, tak ada masalah. Tapi yang tadi kita letak 0.5 tu, dia kata sepatutnya tak boleh, kena minimum 1. Okay, so maksudnya kalau yang macam ni, ini memang apa yang ada dalam sistem, dalam OBE saya buat dalam Excel. Okay. Kalau kat sini kita ada final 3 jam, automatic sini adalah face to face punya assessment. Yang sini adalah preparation untuk independent learning, student tu belajar sendiri. So kalau 3 jam automatik, contoh saya letak sini 2 jam, dia akan jadi sini 8 jam. Tapi oleh kerana kita punya 3 jam, so sini akan jadi 12 jam sebab kita punya ratio 1:4, dia punya pair ratio.
Assalamualaikum, Dr. Sami.
Yes.
Kami tengah showkan Excel template SLT template.
Yes.
Saya rasa kita tak nampak dia punya screen kat sini.
Oh, tak nampak?
Kalau Dr. Sami share screen ke share dia punya Windows? Kalau Windows mungkin tak nampak. Mungkin boleh tunjuk sekali lagi ke yang Excel template tu? Mungkin saya nak tanya sikit lah. Kalau katakan yang SLT template yang dalam kita punya sistem OBE tu kan, adakah dia follow yang sekarang ni, yang proposed student learning time ni?
Itulah, ada itu yang saya highlight tadi. Sekarang ni tak nampak saya punya Excel.
Tak nampak. Mungkin kami boleh share screen ke ataupun macam mana? Share balik,
Okay,
share screen balik.
Saya cuba share balik ya. Share.
Okey, sementara tu kalau ada apa-apa siapa participant nak tanya apa-apa ke, boleh bertanya.
Assalamualaikum, Aliza.
Assalamualaikum. Okey.
Itulah kalau ikut SMP tu jauh kurang tu, macam apa doktor cakap tadi lah, setengah je, 0.5 kan.
Okey, nampak tak sekarang dia punya ni? Excel nampak?
Nampak.
Nampak
Nampak. Baru nampak.
Baru nampak Okey, ini yang tadi saya kata by default dia punya setting kat sini 0.5 sebenarnya. Yang ni kan? Independent learning kalau dalam sistem kita by default dia 0.5. Kalau nak satu kita kena ubah sendiri. Itu yang dulu masa Prof Syahril tu memang dia sebut kalau kita tengok dalam MQU punya standard yang ni nampak?
Ini nampak, boleh.
Nampak? Okey. Proposed student cell learning time dia kata 1 hingga 2, tak boleh 0.5. Malahan untuk subjek yang berat tadi tu dia letakkan 2. Saya ada tengok beberapa contoh sampai dia claim that subject is 4 credit sebab dia nak cover yang ni memang 2, tapi kita tak perlulah sampai 2, kita at least kena 1 lah. Jadi memang kalau di fakulti engineering, di fakulti FKM memang saya dah highlight benda ni. Sebenarnya dalam interim report dalam audit yang lepas dia pun ada sebut pasal SLT ni. Dia kata SLT not according to the guideline lah, maksudnya sebab kita guna 0.5. Tapi sekarang ni kita dah letak saja 1 lah dekat sini. Some of the lecturer ni dia tak kisah kat sini berapa pun as long as kat bawah ni dapat 3. Jadi itu sebenarnya defeat the purpose lah. Sebenarnya SLT ni kita nak rangka kita punya assessment, perlu tak ada projek lagi, perlu tak quiz. Itu yang menentukan. Kalau kita rasa dia dah pack, so kita tak perlu nak assign projek. Tapi oleh kerana just the numbers, just main letak dapat 3, okey. Itu yang jadi tak betul tu. Patutnya ini yang guide kita untuk tentukan supaya student tak ni overload. Kita tak pernah kira pun sebelum ni assignment yang kita bagi berapa jam. Itu yang dia jadi isu dekat SLT ni lah sebenarnya. Yang sebelum ni memang ada student claim dia terbeban semua kan, sebab bila kita ambil kira SLT betul-betul memang betul dia terbeban sebenarnya. Okey. Itu indikator yang memang apa yang student claim tu betul lah. Bukan dia main cakap dia terbeban sebenarnya. Ada soalan ke kat sini?
Yang SLT template ni sama untuk e-tech pun sama juga kan? Untuk
soalan saya.
Okey.
So Mariam ni, just nak tanya sebab saya pun bila kita isi yang OB online ni kan, kan dia memang kita kan telah kita ada guided kan yang SLT credit equivalent tu dia perlulah equivalent kepada credit hour kan, macam kalau subjek dia 3 credit, so yang bawah tu dia actually should be about 3.0 something lah kan. So tapi saya sukalah dengar yang tadi Dr. Sami cakap tadi, walaupun dia 3 jam credit hour, tapi macam EAC ada komen kan panel tu tadi, kalau subjek tu berat dia boleh go up to 4 SLT tu. So macam mana kita nak define benda tu nanti dalam dalam sistem OBE kita? Ada tak macam misal katalah kita letak dia lebih daripada 3 tu kan, so kena adalah komen kan, justification kenapa kita letak lebih.
Sekarang ni kita sebenarnya oleh kerana kredit yang kita claim tu, dia ada setengah universiti dia kata kredit dia 3 tapi SLT equivalent jadi 4. Kita tak guna definition dia tau. Kita apa yang kita claim 3 tu memang 3 tu by SLT, bukannya by kredit SLT, bukannya 3 yang cara lama. Jadi apa yang kita boleh buat, kita kena maintain juga 3 point something. Kita tak boleh jadikan dia 4 oleh kerana kita memang dah claim yang subjek tu 3 tu SLT, bukan 3 kredit yang biasa. Jadi apa yang kita buat, kita kena kurangkan assessment yang kita bagi in term of assignment ataupun projek yang mungkin dia akan jadi 3 tadilah. Dia macam tu sekarang ni. Unless kalau kita decide balik, kita kata nak claim subjek tu memang 4 kredit SLT. Itu yang saya nampak sekarang kita tak boleh buat lah kalau yang 4 tu. Melainkan kita ubah balik.
Kaki 3 ni kan, kita tak boleh lah ikut yang istilah yang dia claim lebih daripada 3 tu.
Tak boleh.
Okay, alright.
Sekarang ni lah. Sebab dulu masa kita punya kredit 131 tak salah saya, 130 lah. Kemudian bila dia keluar SLT, dia kata nak 135. Some university, dia tak buat apa-apa pun. Dia cuma buat SLT equivalent. Ada some university lah. Bila SLT equivalent, itu yang dia ada claim yang subjek yang heavy tu, dia jadi 3.5, 3.6 kan. Jadi bila total accumulate, dia dapat 135. Maksudnya dia akan ada satu table. Dekat situ kredit biasa berapa, kredit SLT berapa. And then based on kredit SLT tu ada claim subjek dia punya kurikulum tu achieve 135. Tapi kita tak, kita dah decide memang kredit yang kita claim tu ada kredit SLT. So tak ada equivalent lagi dah. Itulah yang kita hadapi sekarang ni. Cuma itulah.
Sebenarnya lebihkan formative assessment lah kot dia, doktor. Formative assessment daripada maknanya formative assessment yang tidak dinilai lah pada belajar kan, kalau nak bagi yang non SLT punya lah, yang tak dikira.
Dia tak dikira pun itu sebenarnya tak solve problem tau. Dia sebenarnya ni sama ada assessment tu dikira tak dikira, kalau student tu spendkan masa untuk perkara tu, kita kena counted. Sebab tu contoh dulu kita kalau kita ada subjek 3 kredit, kita kata 3 jam kan, kita mesti ada 3 jam dalam seminggu selama 14 minggu. Tapi sekarang sebenarnya not necessary mesti 3 jam dalam seminggu tu. Sebab kalau kita buat macam tu, nanti dia dah tak boleh nak cover assignment yang lain. Mungkin dalam in actual practice pun sometimes kita bukannya macam first week. Mungkin kita bukan purely 3 jam, kita buat 2 jam. Mungkin nanti ada certain week, ada minggu peperiksaan, kita kurangkan. Jadi kita declare betul-betul kat situ dan kita akan ada extra time sebenarnya untuk kita buat benda-benda yang lain. Itu yang boleh kita buat lah sebenarnya. Tapi as a student, whatever time yang student allocate, yang student spend, we have to consider in SLT. Dia tak boleh kita ignore benda tu. Itu yang sebenarnya lah. Okay. Tak apa, ni SLT ni mungkin boleh cerita lain nanti kot. dia panjang sikit lah. Okay. Saya continue tadi. Okay. So kalau kita refer to the student workload for the engineering, average credit yang disebut di sini adalah based on the SLT credit, bukannya normal credit. Maximum dekat sini adalah 20.
Doktor show slide ke show Excel? Kami tengok Excel.
Dia kena share lain-lain lah. Saya tunjuk slide ni tadi. Tapi dia call lain. Sekejap okay, slide. Okay, sekarang nampak slide ya?
Dia ada slide.
Okay. Sekejap. Dah pukul 4 lebih saya ingat. Sekejap.
Masa memang berlalu betul
Saya ingat saya fikir tadi apa saya nak cakap lama sangat kan, rupanya dah habis dah. Okay.
Ya betul.
Okay, jadi tadi kita stop sampai okay.
Ini ya.
Okay, this one student workload. For the engineering dia kata mesti less than 20. Okay, less than 20. Okay, tapi our practice kalau ikut BPA punya standard pun kalau lebih 18 kena dekan punya approval. Okay, so that's a good system lah. Maksudnya kita dah cut off dekat situ kan. Kalau lebih 20 sebenarnya dekan boleh allow sampai 21 atau 22. Lebih daripada tu dah tak boleh. Itu dekan pun dah tak ada authority. Okay. And then engineering technology 16 hingga 20 SLT credit units. Saya ingat ini pun fulfill lah sebab kita standard 18. Okay. And then for the engineering technician 15 hingga 18 dia ada rendah sikit. Ni SLT bukannya kredit yang normal lah, maksudnya kredit yang macam kita tadi lah. Okay. So in term of student workload tak boleh lebih daripada tu. Okay. Sebab tu dalam part time program sebab yalah saya pun involved dengan part time ni. Dalam part time kita letakkan per semester maximum is about 10 to 11. Okay. Tapi yang bawah-bawah ni kita nak up to 12 credit per semester sebab dia ni belajar Sabtu Ahad. So kalau terlalu banyak dia tak make sense sebenarnya bila masa dia nak belajar yang self learning belajar sendiri tadi tu kan malam lah waktu kerja. Okay. Okay, dalam quality management system di DAC dia highlight lagi IHSL tadi Institute Higher Learning. Kalau tadi MQA dia guna istilah HEP, Higher Education Provider. Okay, external examiner for his program to independently review the overall academic standard. External examiner. And then dia sebut juga dekat sini, okay, external examiner is a person of high academic standing in the engineering discipline. The external examiner is expected to carry out of the overall assessment. Bawah ni ada yang masa IR Azhar tu ada Dr. siapa ni PKK siapa ni Syed Najib dia kata masalah dia external examiner ni dia adalah orang lebih tak familiar dengan e-tech lebih pada EC. Jadi ada masalah jugalah bila dia review dia seolah-olah dia tune dia tu lebih kepada EC. Bahaya juga macam tu kan. Sebab e-tech sepatutnya in term of soalan moderation semua akan lebih level lebih rendah lagi lah. Okay, so make sure we choose the right external examiner lah. Ada juga strategi yang orang guna bila dia tahu panel tu agak strict bila untuk program tu. Jadi dia appoint orang tu sebagai external examiner. Jadi dia dah selamat orang tu tak jadi panel kan. Sebab external examiner kita boleh discuss lagi. Boleh panel susah lah kita nak discuss lah. And then industry advisory, the IHSL should have an industry advisory panel for participation by practicing engineer, alumni and employer of engineer for the purpose of planning and continuous improvement of program quality. Okay, in the faculty level, like FKM, normally this one we conduct yearly, setiap tahun kita akan buat lah. Okay, and all this report, external report and also industry advisory, this is the main important reference yang kita guna untuk kita review kita punya curriculum. Okay, sebab tu dia memang maksudnya kalau external seminar kat sini kena ada 2 external seminar report kalau in one cycle kalau untuk yang degree sebab 2 years one visit for 2 years untuk setiap for each 2 years. Okay. Okay, yang ni saya just repeat balik. Comment from external examiner, reviewing feedback and input from stakeholder. Okay. Okay, satu lagi adalah benchmark. The IHSL must demonstrate appropriate benchmark is carried out with similar accredited recognized program offered at others IHSL. Okay, maksudnya program yang nak benchmark tu adalah program biasanya kita tengok kalau dia dapat accreditation yang panjang atau banyak, kita refer to them lah. Okay, kalau nasib baik ada orang nak benchmark kita, so at the same time kita boleh get input from them. Jadi tak payah buat benchmark, dia buat benchmark tapi kita dapat benefit daripada benchmark yang dia buat. Okay, okay, and then external examiner report. Okay, yang ni yang memang kita akan kena refer. Okay. So basically, external examiner should familiar should well versed with what they are going to do. Okay, so the criteria, the item is similar with the EAC punya ni lah. Okay, program curriculum OB implementation and achievement of the POs. Then the quality of staff assigned to the program. That's why normally the external also conduct interview with the staff, with the student to evaluate all the system. Okay, student workload and their involvement in extracurricular activities, quality of examination paper as well as other coursework and component. Okay, we currently we have to include yang tadi tu, yang ni yang bawah-bawah ni WP, WKEA, all the waiting form should be include benda-benda tu sebab sekarang ni dia dah jadi wajib. Kita pun baru kita revise sebelum ni. Okay. Quality management system of the program and facilities that support the program. Okay. Jadi ini adalah benda yang sepatutnya external examiner cover lah, yang akan digunakan untuk rujukan for our reviewing kita punya curriculum. Okay. Sebut pasal ni tadi, apa ni, external examiner report dia ada sebut pasal OB implementation and achievement of the POs. Okay. Sebenarnya in our OBE system, our OBE system capable to generate student achievement on each PO. Okay. For an example here, I put here one example. Year 1 ni ada nama pelajar, saya hide dia dekat sini. So a student can know dia achievement. Okay. Contohnya PO1 sampai PO12. Okay. PO1 to PO12 kat sini. In that particular semester, berapa PO satu dia dapat, berapa PO dia dapat, benda ni ada dalam kita punya sistem. We call that as a IPO. Kalau kita masuk dalam buku PE tu, kita type IPO, dia akan generate benda ni. Okay. What I did last time during the visit, EAC visit. So kita minta all the academic advisor print out their student punya PO achievement. Kemudian the academic advisor have to distribute to all the student. So from there, the student will realize about their achievement on each PO. Dalam masa yang sama, the OB awareness pun berlaku. Tak perlu kita nak bagi talk pasal OB awareness dan sebagainya pada pelajar by giving this slip. Dia macam second slip lah kalau kita ada slip CGPA berapa semua kan. Jadi kali ni dia ada slip berapa PO yang dia dapat untuk setiap semester. So by doing that, student OB awareness is increase. Dia akan tahu sebenarnya ada PO1 sampai PO12. Malahan some of the student when they come for the interview to the panel, they bring this slip. So panel happy lah. Maksudnya establishment of the OBE tu very strongly emphasized by the faculty. Sampai student pun boleh tahu dia punya achievement, dia punya result for each PO. Okay. Yang ni sebenarnya sistem ni ada dan mungkin ada yang tak fully utilize sistem ni. Okay. So kita cuba memang, cuma kadang ada salah kiraan dan sebagainya, itu ada pening sikit lah. Okay. Dia tak macam, tapi kita kena tengok balik dan kita boleh guna sistem ni sebenarnya. So okay, cuma kiraan dia ni kalau kita tengok sini, dia bukan kiraan secara average, dia ada formula dia. Dia ada formula dia, consider the weightage, the credit of the subject. Sebab in the early stage of the establishment of this OB system, saya pun memang terlibat lah masa tu dengan PM Fahmi. So dia memang ada operation dia lah. Okay. Okay, when we conduct.
Assalamualaikum Dr. Sam. Ada soalan dalam chat dia, PM Mariam tanya yang this IPO ni, HOD TDA boleh lihat IPO, how about PA?
Macam mana?
Macam PA, penasihat akademik, kita boleh nampak tak IPO student PA masing-masing?
Boleh. Memang IPO ni generate by academic advisor.
Okay.
Memang academic advisor. Dulu ada yang propose why not student download by their own. Gitu. Tapi sebenarnya kita gunakan platform tu untuk pelajar jumpa PA. Kalau tak, dia tak jumpa. Jadi bila dia jumpa ni, dia boleh tengok jadi satu platform untuk perjumpaan bersama PA, dan dalam masa yang sama kita nak paskan slip ni lah. Jadi memang PA semua boleh tengok. Dia cuma key in dia punya, pergi ke IPO, kemudian boleh key in. Tapi benda ni PPA yang control. PPA selalunya saya akan minta dengan PPA untuk diproses, Puan Nurihan. Sebab dia kata fakulti lain tak ada pun suruh proses. Sebab dia tak guna IPO ni. Masa tu saya yang selalu kerja yang untuk dia proses. Dia bukan auto. Dia kena ada satu proses yang dia kena generate baru dia keluar. Dia macam tu. Tapi memang semua academic advisor boleh dapat IPO untuk setiap pelajar ni. So I think it is rugilah kalau kita tak fully utilize the system. Sedangkan kita ada sistem yang macam ni. Okay.
Assalamualaikum.
Okay. Salam.
Student boleh akses ke? Boleh tengok
Student
situ?
tak boleh. Student tak boleh. Yang boleh kita penelitian akademik.
Okey, baik.
So far student tak boleh lah. Tak tahulah kalau kita nak extend akan datang. Okay.
Yalah, cuma macam banyak jugalah kan kalau seorang PA ada 20 student, dia kena cari satu sampai 20 keping.
Betul. Itu pun dulu kita punya staff bising lah kan. Dia kena print 20 keping kan. Dia kena print 20 keping.
Kalau print saja tak apa. Dia bukan print saja lah. Banyak lagi sebelum tu kan.
Betul. Komen tu memang samalah. Memang dia agak
boleh je bagi student access. Dia bawa lah benda tu pergi jumpa PA kan.
Boleh, benda ni kita boleh minta improvement lah akan datang kalau betul semua orang nak fully utilize benda ni. Sebab benda ni so far tak ramai yang guna pun. Tu yang tak ada keperluan. Tapi once kita decide tu, kita boleh minta fakulti universiti untuk student tu access lah. Kan? Future,
untuk maklumat FTKEE ada lah. Memang kita buat manual ni.
Dekat mana?
FTKEE. FTKEE saya dah tak berapa ingat IPO ke apa ke. Dia macam kena generate satu file Excel yang ada semua nama dalam tu, and then PA kena buat programming sikit, keluarkan dokumen-dokumen ni manually.
Itu saya tahu. Itu dulu daripada ni kan, siapa ni?
Masa tu Dr. Farah yang bantulah, Dr. Farah FTKEE ni.
Itulah sebenarnya kita overlap tau, kita double work lah. Bendanya sebenarnya, benda tu ada dalam sistem tau. Yang kita tak perlu nak buat extra work sebenarnya. Kita boleh guna sistem yang ada untuk generate benda ni. Tak perlu. Kalau macam tadi betul, sebelum ni memang kita guna macam tu. Kita guna Excel, kita kena key in. Lagi pening. Lagi susah. Sebenarnya sistem ni dah ada. Cuba kita kena
TDA FTKEE kena ni lah ni, kena ambil maklum.
Dr. Zaimi, saya nak tanya. Sebelum ni, saya Mariam. Sebelum ni memang boleh akses IPO. Tapi setahu saya tak boleh akses lah tengok pelajar PA saya. So itu yang saya tanya. Sebab saya ingat saya HOD memang boleh akses. So di bawah jabatan PA.
Mungkin tak boleh akses tu bukan sebab yang saya kata tadi, kita kena minta PPA proses benda tu. Sebab kalau yang lepas memang kita PA sendiri yang sediakan. Memang boleh. Cuma saya takut tadi step yang
proses dia siapa yang kena buat selepas setiap semester?
Dulu Puan Nurihan.
Puan Nurihan PPPA.
Ya. Memang saya selalu kontak dia untuk dia proses.
Dia tak standard semua fakulti ke macam mana?
Dia pernah sebut sebelum ni, lepas ni dia kata akan diberi kepada penolong pendaftar untuk masing-masing proses sebab dia nak cover semua agak berat kan. Jadi yang lepas tu kalau tak silap saya, siapa yang request dia proses.
Gitu.
Jadi saya takut benda tu mungkin dia tak proses. Sebab tak ada permintaan.
FKM je lah yang dapat proses tu. FKM je lah yang diproses.
Baiklah FKE.
Itulah saya tak tahu macam mana proses. Dia kata macam klik button gitu je tapi dia ambil masa lah dia kata.
Okay. Alright. Ini kod TDA ada kot dalam ni. Nanti take note lah kod TDA yang terlibat.
Benda yang kita boleh improve dan kita highlight untuk semua orang tahu benda ni ada kan untuk kita gunakan lah. Rugilah sebenarnya kalau kita ada tapi kita tak guna. Okay, sikit lagi dah nak habis pun. Okay, jadi kalau IAP biasanya based on my previous experience, biasanya IAP ni dia tak highlight much on the curriculum structure ni. Dia akan highlight lebih kepada soft skill student. Dan biasanya yang akan disentuh benda ni ialah communication, individual, teamwork. Itu je yang di highlight selalunya. Kan? Tapi itulah kalau based on kita punya mapping, saya pernah buat analisis lah, based on kita punya mapping PO yang kita PO achievement based on the student assessment yang kita map pada setiap subjek, PO 9 dan 10 ni sebenarnya kalau kita tengok agak tinggi. PO 9 dan 10 ni achievement dia agak tinggi dan kalau based on data seolah-olah our student is good enough lah, their communication and their teamwork. Tapi bila student ni graduate, kita buat survey, exit survey, student tu dia akan boleh evaluate diri dia sendiri. Dia rasa communication dia tak bagus, communication dia rendah. Maksudnya dia assess by their own, dia kata kalau skala 10 mungkin dia kata 4, 5, dia rasa tak confident. This is something we have to report. We have to look at. Kenapa based on assessment kita dapati PO 9, 10 ni tinggi, tetapi bila kita tanya pada pelajar, dia sendiri pun rasa tak confident. Maybe something wrong with our assessment. Dan bila kita pergi ke industri kata pun student ni ada masalah, kebanyakan student ada masalah PO 9, PO 10. Ni satu benda yang kita kena fikir. Kenapa soal assessment kita tu macam tak inline, tak tally dengan student punya feel dan juga yang industri punya komen. Ni benda-benda yang saya nak highlight ni, saya tak ada solution pun. Kan? Tapi kita tengok kenapa jadi macam tu. Patutnya sama. Tapi yang lain tu sama. Kalau kita kata PO 4 tu selalunya rendah. Bila student nilai sendiri, memang betul PO 4 tu rendah. Yang engineering knowledge ni katakan agak tinggi. Memang tinggi, dia inline lah. Tapi bila sampai dekat sini, dia ada something yang tak kena, yang saya tak tally. Antara direct assessment dengan indirect assessment tadi tu. Tapi biasanya IP highlight benda-benda yang relate dengan soft skill ni lah. Okay. Okay, self assessment report. Kalau kita tengok self assessment report ni actually is a reflect the process with result obtained used in continual quality improvement at all level of the program activities. Kita tengok di peringkat apa ni, subjek, di peringkat program dan juga selepas di graduate lah. Okay. Saya skip kat sini. So provide the self evaluation of the outcome and subsequent corrective action. Maksudnya kita dah dapat input daripada all the stakeholder and then kita akan come out dengan action taken dengan some improvement yang kita plan. Okay. Tak ada. Okay. So input to be the curriculum basically dia jadi macam ni lah. First, the compulsory one is the MQA program standard, and then EAC ataupun E-Tech manual kalau untuk engineering ataupun E-Tech logic, and then professional body ini termasuklah sebenarnya. Okay, this is the main reference. On top of that, kita kena refer to the external examiner report. Okay, this one is more detail lah. Okay, yang ni macam guideline general guideline, tapi yang detailnya adalah based on our external report, IAP, and then benchmarking, Kementerian Pengajian Tinggi macam bawah ni kita sebelumnya ada ubah subjek TITAS dan juga hubungan etnik kepada isu penghayatan peradaban saya tak ingat nama dia, isu semasa, penghayatan etika dan isu semasa, something like that. Okay, and then input also come from the faculty members untuk setiap subjek, mungkin ada perubahan LO dan sebagainya. And then the last one is student, alumni dan juga parents. So maksudnya all the stakeholder input must be considered in order to review our curriculum. So daripada situ kita akan dapat satu solution, tapi itulah dia tak ada final yang kata sampai satu stage semua dah okey, tak ada. Dia akan terus CQI ini akan terus sampai kita pencen lah ya. Kita akan sentiasa buat CQI ni. Selagi tak pencen, selagi itu tak berhenti CQI tu. Okay. Dalam ISO PK01, ni saya tak sempat sentuh lah. Tapi yang ni mungkin nanti PPSK yang akan buat lah. Okay. ISO PK01 ni tentang program baru dan juga keperluan untuk ubah review kurikulum. Kalau kita tengok sini, keperluan dia adalah tempoh penyemakan telah sampai untuk diploma 3 tahun, manakala untuk sarjana muda selepas 4 tahun. Okay. Maksudnya one cycle, so mesti ada review. Dulu pernah baru over 1 tahun atau 2 tahun and then kita nak review. Masa tu JKTS kata cycle pun tak complete dan nak ubah. Memang dia tak bagi dah juga kan. So kena complete kan. Tapi kalau benda tu dah salah, takkan nak teruskan kan. Tapi kena juga teruskan masa tu. Okay. Sekiranya terdapat maklum balas daripada JKPT dan badan profesional tentang keperluan terkini. Okay, macam kita ubah kredit ber-135 yang tadi tu. Sekiranya dapat maklum balas dari pihak panel industri. Dulu kita buat kita punya projek diploma secara individual. Kemudian masa tu panel kata for diploma student they should work in a team. So kita buatlah secara berkumpulan. Tapi bila kita tengok impact manual pula, penilaiannya kena individu. Dah pening kita bertukar balik. Tapi kita proceed dengan by group, tetapi dia punya report by individual. Jadi kita akan evaluate part by part. Kita nak cover, nak consider semua input tadi tu kan. Okay. Dan sekiranya dapat maklum balas daripada pemeriksa luar, jadi secara compulsory. Okay. Sekiranya dapat maklum balas daripada pelanggan, masuk pelajar dan keluarga pelajar tersebut, sekiranya terdapat arahan dari senat universiti dari masa ke semasa. Okay. Okey, sekarang ni dah 4.30, jadi ngam-ngam lah. Saya rasa dah bila ni. Okay.
Okay.
4.30.
Okay.
Just nice timing. Tapi sebenarnya saya nak cerita PK01 tadi, tapi tak apalah. Itu nanti biar Dr. Aliza yang explain akan datang. PK tu dia punya kan.
Okay, insyaAllah. Alright, Dr. Aliza ada kat sini. InsyaAllah kita
kan?
masukkan next month punya. Next year insyaAllah.
Saya tak payah cover tu. Okey, jadi kalau kita tengok CQI ni di semua peringkat level lah. CQI di peringkat learning outcome. Untuk course level kita akan lihat pada LO dan juga pada PO, dan juga untuk program level kita tengok PO at the end of the masa pelajar dah graduate. Kemudian PO ni 3 to 5 years after graduation, and all these PO, LO actually come from the several stakeholder daripada advisory committee yang saya kata tadi, IEP, external examiner, parents, student, alumni and so on lah. And semua ni kena mengambil kira lah vision kita, dan juga ni saya dah tulis ada stakeholder. So basically this is our task lah untuk sentiasa buat CQI. Dia tak ada ending dia, benda ni dia tak ada ending. Saya kena sentiasa improve ourselves. So I think with that I end of my presentation. Ngam-ngam 4.30. Okay.
Okay, baik. Alhamdulillah, terbaik Dr. Suhaimi. Okay, so sekarang kita open to the floor. Ada siapa, anybody nak tanya soalan berkenaan dengan reviewing. So basically the CQI process tu is a review process lah, lebih kurang sama kan. So ada soalan kepada
bagi pandangan apa-apa.
Saya nak bagi komen tadi Dr. Suhaimi, saya dah dapat tadi Dr. Fazli share dalam WhatsApp saya. Sebenarnya boleh akses. Yang saya punya last semester punya tak keluar lagi. Last semester punya tak keluar lagi. Yang semester 3 semester yang awal ada. Okay, dah boleh lah tu. Terima kasih.
Boleh. Kena minta tu, kejar tu penurihan. Saya selalu kejar dia. Dululah masa TDA, tapi sekarang tak payahlah.
Okay, semua orang boleh simpan nama dia dan telefon nama dia. Kalau kenaan dengan ni, I think dalam komen tu Dr. Fazli mention kita check kat SMP, OBE, laporan SMP V2, cari IPO kat situ. So kita boleh tengok. So insyaAllah mungkin Dr. Aliza, FTKE mungkin lepas ni kita boleh tengok kat situ je kot. Tak perlu nak buat manual punya calculation.
Betul. Saya pun tak buat lagi ni sebab manual kan. Kena revise apa semua dulu baru boleh buat.
Okay, maybe boleh bincang dengan kita punya TDA lah insyaAllah. Okay, ada persoalan lagi daripada peserta yang lain?
Cuma nak tanyalah Dr. Suhaimi, yang pengiraan IPO ni perlu tak cara faham macam mana dikira untuk pelajar punya IPO? Sebab tadi kan you ada mention dia berkenaan dengan credit hours kan? So kalau boleh share sedikit cara dia calculate tu?
Okay, sekejap. Saya cari sekejap. Harap-harap jumpa lah. Sekarang ni nampak saya punya slide je. Saya tutup dulu lah. Nanti kita nampak macam pula kan. Okay. Tadi pasal apa? Pengiraan. Okay. Dia memang ada dia punya tu. Okay. Presentation.
Okay, kalau ada siapa-siapa lagi nak tanya pun sementara tu boleh type kat bawah.
Sambil tu boleh tanya sebab saya mencari ni.
Ada nak tanya soalan lain ke?
Okey, saya nak sharekan slide ni. Alhamdulillah saya jumpa ni. Saya dah jumpa ni. Okey, tadi pasal formula dia macam mana sebenarnya dapat calculation tu kan? Okey. Ni. Sekarang nampak slide saya?
Nampak boleh. Pengiraan IPO.
Contoh subjek tu ada map pada 2 PO, PO1, PO3. Okey. Jadi kaedah pentafsiran ujian 1 20%, peperiksaan akhir 60%, 80, ada 20% lagi tugasan. Jadi total 100 kan? 100. Okey, peratusan markah dia mengambil kira 80% tu map pada PO1. Jadi markah dapat, contohnya pada tu dapat half, 40/80. Yang ni pelajaran tu dapat half, kita ambil half je lah ni 10/20. Okay. Dia mengambil kira markah penuh untuk ni IPO ni, macam mana dia kira IPO. Markah, untuk pemberat dia adalah markah penuh dia, kali kredit dia, and then kali dengan markah dia dapat, and then divide by 80/30. Kalau kita tengok individual, memanglah ni akan cancel. Kalau kita tengok individual ni cancel, dapat je balik yang ni kan. Itu kalau kita tengok individual. Tapi kalau kita combine, kita accumulate dia punya IPO dia nanti, kita tak boleh nak simplikan cancel macam tu. Dia tak sama macam tu. Mula-mula dulu kita tengok ni cancel je. Apa nak buat macam ni formula ni. Tapi bila kita accumulate, dia tak akan dapat macam tu. Okay. Jadi bila kita buat ni dapat 120/240 dapat 50. Sebab ni hanya satu subjek. Kemudian dia combine dengan subjek kedua. Okey, ni subjek kedua. 60/40. Okey, contohnya sini 48, dia guna cara yang sama juga. Sekejap. Yang ni pun dia ambil 48/60 Okey, untuk individual subjek, okey, dia akan dapat cancel balik lah benda ni, dapat markah yang ni kan. Okey, kat mana kat sini. Okey. Accumulate IPO. Okey. Kita ambil tadi 120 tambah 48. Kita ambil daripada contoh ni 100. Mana 120 yang ni. Kita ambil yang ni 120 dengan 48 sebab dia accumulate. Kemudian kita bahagikan dengan total yang bawah ni. Bawah ni 240 dengan 60. Dia bukan secara individu tapi secara kumulatif ni dia akan dapat 56. Kalau kita ambil average, dapat 65. Kalau ambil average tadi tu, kalau kita ignore dia punya pemberat dan dia punya kredit, dia akan dapat 65. Tapi dengan menggunakan IPO ni, dia bukan 65, dia 56. Kalau tak faham, nanti boleh study balik, tengok formula ni. Nanti saya boleh checkkan lagi. Kalau macam ni contohnya, kalau pengiraan average biasa, dia dapat 37.5. Tetapi kita mengambil kira faktor yang ni pemberat dia oleh kerana dia 80% tau. 80% ni contribute very high compare with 20%. So dia more significant compare with the PO3. Faham tak maksudnya? PO1 is more significant compare with PO3 because it contribute 80%. Sebab tu walaupun dia dapat separuh, ni IPO. Sekejap, saya pun dah confused dah ni. Okay. Tapi dia ada efek sini 2 kredit. Sini 3 kredit. Sini 3 kredit. Dia
satu kredit.
Tapi berani share ni.
Khusus 2 tu satu kredit. Khusus 2 tu satu kredit kan? Khusus kedua tu.
Khusus B tu.
Khusus kedua. Kreditnya 1. Jadi impactnya tak besar. Jadi betul, impact dia tak besar. Sebab tu dia tak boleh nak ambil average saja. Kan dia tak boleh simply ambil average sebab ini 1 kredit, ini 3 kredit. Dia kena mengambil kira pemberat ni dalam accumulate IPO ni. Dia tadi kalau nak faham kena telaah dulu benda ni lah. Nanti baru nampak mana datangnya benda ni.
Okay. Boleh faham kot insya-Allah.
Boleh faham ni. Dia kena tengok satu-satu. Ini yang kita buat bila kita dah PA. Ni Fazli pula contoh gambar ni. Ini contoh Fazli punya gambar lah. Dia sekarang TDA. Sekarang dia lah yang kena kejar ni. Jadi kita akan minta pelajar tanda tangan. Jadi maksudnya student tu dah dapat dah dia punya program outcome. Jadi dia tahu sebab ideanya kenapa kita nak access pelajar. Bila kita nak access pelajar, pelajar should know their achievement. Kita access pelajar tapi pelajar tak tahu kita sibuk access PO kan. PO kita access tapi pelajar tak tahu berapa achievement dia PO. PO untuk setiap yang kita access. Jadi dia sebenarnya tak kena juga. So bila macam ni dia akan tahu lah. Okay.
Cuma tadi Dr. Suhaimi ada you mention ada pengiran yang salah tadi tu. Maksudnya dalam sistem tu salah ke?
Pengiraan yang salah.
Yang you mention kan you ada mention ada salah.
Saya mention tadi. Kita pernah masa tu yang diploma punya yang PO5 ni sebenarnya adalah dia punya lab daripada lab section. Bila kita tengok lab section secara individual, kita dapati pelajar ni semua achieve. Tapi somehow bila kita tengok data tu overall dia tak achieve. Tu yang kita pun stuck juga sistem tu. Benda tu sistem kan, macam mana kita nak trace salah kat mana, kita tak dapat nampak equation dia kan. Dia ada sikit kat situ lah. Tapi yang individual ni saya rasa okey. Yang tu dia by program.
By program lah kiranya.
Yang tu by program ada masalah sikit. Tapi IPO ni kadang-kadang kalau ada salah pun kita tak perasan kan. Sebab dia complicated. Kita pun tak dapat nak verify betul-betul. So kita boleh percaya je lah kot. Sebab dia markah yang memang di key in dalam sistem tu.
So Dr. Suhaimi, you boleh rasanya boleh share tak pengiraan ni slide ni, dan juga kalau ada Excel tak you buat kalau kata template untuk kira IPO.
Okey, ini sebenarnya dalam slide yang lain.
Itulah saya tengok dalam lain.
Ada slide yang lain, slide yang saya berikan kat fakulti dulu. Macam mana saya nak share nanti?
Mungkin kemudian ke?
Material boleh, material yang dalam tu nanti kan.
Boleh, nanti saya akan masukkan dalam U-Training punya portal, dan semua peserta sini boleh akses insyaAllah. Dan di fakulti ada buat tak macam something like a template untuk Excel untuk automatic calculate ni?
Itulah sebabnya kita try nak avoid redundant punya kerja ni. Sebab sistem dah ada, kita dah key in semua. Jadi kita try guna sistem yang ada. Kita tak buat on our own. Dulu kita buat. Tapi lepas tu kita terus guna percaya pada sistem je lah.
Okey. Baik.
Saya tahu ada fakulti yang masih buat benda tu.
Okey, baik.
Rugi rasanya kita dah establish sistem kita betul-betul tapi ada lagi manual nak guna Excel. Macam tu kan.
InsyaAllah mungkin setiap fakulti boleh tengok lepas ni. Okey, sekarang pun masa pun dah 4:45. So ada soalan lagi ke? Last round soalan daripada peserta? Ada apa-apa sebelum kita wrap up sesi kita petang ni? Okey. Alright, semua peserta okey, semua peserta dah happy. Satisfied? Okay, insyaAllah. So, Dr. Suhaimi, okay So, ada apa-apa lagi ke, Dr. Suhaimi?
Okay.
Any last word you want to tell to the participant? Ada apa-apa pesanan terakhir ke?
Tak adalah, saya rasa semua dah saya deliver tadi. Itu je lah yang mungkin ni sebagai sedikit sharing lah yang mungkin kita boleh ambil maklum. Yang selebihnya tu memang kita kena sama-sama buat lah sebenarnya kan.
Okay, baik. Alhamdulillah. So, okay. With that, saya would like terima kasih kepada Engineer Dr. Suhaimi. Thank you so much for your time and also your presentation, your sharing session this afternoon lah. So, sebelum kita bersurai kita akan take ahead. Kita akan semua orang kalau boleh bersedia untuk turn on kan you punya kamera untuk kita ada sikit sesi bergambaran lah. So, Alhamdulillah tamat sudah sesi kita hari ini. Thank you everyone. We appreciate you being here and hope this session has been beneficial to all of us. So, before we end, as a reminder, don't forget to fill in your feedback in the U-Training untuk kita berikan e-certificate later on. Alright, so that's all the time we have for our session today. Thanks again for joining us today and we'll see you again next time insyaAllah. So, let's end our session today with surah Al-Astan Tasbih Kifalah. Subhanallah, subhanallah, bihamdika, astaghfirullah. Al-asr inna nastaghfiruka illa ladzina amanu. Okay, again, terima kasih. Thank you so much. Ayah Dr. Suhaimi. InsyaAllah
Okey,
kalau ada
selamat.
perkembangan lagi kita boleh jumpa lagi pada sesi yang lain insyaAllah.
Terima
So
kasih,
dengan
Kak.
itu, wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah.
Terima kasih, Doktor.
Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih semua, terima kasih Dr. Sami dan terima kasih juga tim Kak Ais yang menganjurkan insyaAllah. Okay, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.